Welcome back to the studio. Today I want to talk about 5 reasons to start a blog in 2026 or in any other year. I wrote my first blog post almost exactly 23 years ago. I know that because I was on paternity leave with the birth of my first son. And that son turned 23 not that long ago. And it's been a transformative thing. And I would recommend anybody who's a writer or a creative practitioner to have a blog. And by a blog, I mean a standalone blog, not a Substack, not something attached to some other social media platform, but a self-contained and possibly preferably self-hosted blog. I host mine on a platform called WordPress. But you can literally set up a blog in 5 minutes, probably less. But I used to do a workshop where I show people the process of setting up a blog live in the session, including getting an email account dedicated for that blog to open up an account, and it would take roughly 5 minutes. If you're thinking that a blog might not be right for you or your writing practice, I just want to share 5 reasons that I've learned from 23 years of blogging. 22 of those years have been on the same blog, The Lost Byway. Had a different name in the past. I changed the name, moved to a self-hosted platform. But 5 reasons why it's a good idea to have a blog. 5 great reasons to have a blog. The first thing is that writing for an audience really helps develop your writing. And if you're thinking writing for an audience is a little bit scary, the great thing with a blog is, number one, it's very low jeopardy for 2 reasons. When you start out, you're not going to attract many viewers, or it's unlikely you will. So there's not a lot of, you're not playing to a big room, playing to a big audience. I use that analogy as well because one of the reasons I started a blog in 2003 is because I was on paternity leave with the birth of my first son. And before that, I'd been doing occasional stand-up comedy as a creative outlet and a way to reach an audience. And although sometimes, or I would say a lot of the time, I play to pretty small audiences, it's still jeopardy because you're in front of a room of people, you want it to go well, you want them to laugh, or you certainly want them to be receptive to what you're talking about. Whereas the thing with a blog is you write it and publish it, and then you can edit it. So it doesn't have to be exactly as you want it to be. Even now, a lot of my blogs, I'll write them in the pub, and there'll be mistakes in there and stuff. But then the next day I'll look at it and go, oh, yeah, I've got some mistakes there. I can edit that, I can change that, or I can add a link to that to explain it better. It can be whatever you want it to be. It's a very flexible medium. But what you are doing, it's different to writing in your notebook, is there is an audience. You are writing for public consumption. So there's a little bit of discipline involved in it. There's a little bit of extra thought goes into it, but it's not the same level of jeopardy as when you're writing a book, something that's going to be printed. I feel that at the moment because I'm going through the very final read-through of my next book. Going into print is a very different experience. Changing anything in there later on is, you don't want to be doing it, do you, frankly? Let's be honest with you. And so what it really gives you as well is, because you're writing for the public, and however small your audience is, it doesn't really make any difference, I've found over the years. But you can evolve ideas in a public forum. And if you want to take the idea on a bit, rather than edit a post before, you create a new post, and it becomes a succession of things where you can see the evolution of a thought process. It could just be the evolution of anything, really, but you can link things together in a way and build on it. And it's happening over a period of time. I mean, my blog, The Lost Byway, if you go back to things that I was publishing there in 2004, 2005, 2006, they're things that go into my books. The book that's coming out in November has got things that I first researched 20 odd years ago that's on my blog. So it's an ever evolving kind of record of your interests, your thoughts, things you find, things you see, anything you're really working on. It's basically, essentially in a lot of ways, it's like a digital version of your journals. That's number 2. If you keep a journal, a notebook, which I'm sure a lot of the people watching this channel do, or if you do morning pages, you can look at it in a way like a public facing version of your notebooks or your morning pages. Things in there that you think, oh, that's quite good, I'll share that. But where else would you share it? If you're fortunate enough to be someone that writes books, I mean, how many of those are you going to do? But you might see something, a nugget. It could even be one line. It could be one word. It could be a phrase. You think, oh, I'd like that to go out into the world. A blog is the perfect place to put it. So if you're thinking you're not sure whether to start a blog, how to start a blog, but you've been journaling or you've been doing morning pages, you've got a wealth of material there. Like I say, it needn't be anything long, but on the other hand, if you do see something in your morning pages and you think, I'd like to build on that and explore a bit more, a blog post could be the perfect place to do it. So that's the way I often look at it, is certainly early on with my blog, I would walk home after work and I'd write in my notebook as I was walking. Sometimes I'd stop for a pint and write a few things in there. And then a lot of the time that became my blog post. In fact, for the first, I don't know how long, sort of 4 or 5 years of my blog, it was really just things that I'd taken from my pocket notebooks. Don't forget as well, like what goes in your blog can be as flexible as what goes in your notebooks. In fact, even more flexible in the sense that you could just put up a photo with a caption. Again, if you're wandering around, it could just be a photo you take and you could just write 2 or 3 lines. Quotes from books. It's a perfect place to put quotes from books. That's often where I keep my quotes, rather than is it a commonplace notebook where people keep quotes? Rather than do that, I use my blog to capture quotes. And if you've got a smartphone, I'm looking for mine, I've hidden it somewhere, but you can do that thing where you can take a photograph of a book and it will just highlight the text and it will cut and paste the text, and you can put that straight in your blog with a link to the book. It's perfect. Hyperlinks are great, which you can't hyperlink in other bits of writing you do, but you might have an idea that you're talking about that has a very complex background to it. You think, oh, I don't really want to go into explaining the whole of that or where it's come from, but you can just link to it. You can hyperlink to it. So it's I think it's a really beautiful form of writing, and it is an extension of journaling, an extension of morning pages, an extension of writing in a notebook. It's another layer. It's the second impression, if you like, the second sort of development of what you do in your notebooks. Number 3, and this is quite an important one, is discoverability. It's a way that people can discover your writing. And I would say as well, this is what separates a blog, like a WordPress blog where you get your own hosting, or just on wordpress.com, or Blogger, if Blogger's still going. I think they're probably still the 2 main platforms. They're the only 2 I've ever used. That will come up in Google search in a way that Substack won't. I'm not an expert on this, but I did ask ChatGPT actually if I should start a Substack to do a monthly roundup of my work, and it said no, don't bother. And actually I think as well that I think some people start a Substack hoping that it will get them found, get them discovered, but I don't think it's particularly good for that. Whereas a blog will come up in Google search, and if you're going to start a blog, you could just literally spend half an hour researching the likely keywords that people are going to search for, looking for your blog, and just make sure you include them here and there so that your blog is coming up in search. It will happen. And which is, I suppose, linking back to point 1, although you're developing ideas in public, that's the key, it is in public, people will find stuff. So even though you might start off with your writing for 2 or 3 or 4 people, you never know in time. So it is there, but that's a great thing. People read blog posts I wrote, at the beginning, certainly 10, 15 years ago. They come up all the time. When I look at my analytics, I can see people still reading the same blog posts that are coming up in search after 10, 15 or more years. So from that point of view, the discoverability aspect of it is fantastic. And from that, you can start to develop an audience for your writing in a way that it's really hard to do. Yes, you could do that a little bit on Instagram. I don't know about the other platforms, probably on Facebook, I'm not entirely sure. Instagram can be really good for that, but Instagram is a particular thing. It's image based for a start, so you have to have some images, whereas for a blog, the more words the better. You do need an image in there, something, but it's all about the words, and the words stay there and they go into the Google system, the Google rankings, and it's a great way to meet people digitally who have the same interests as you. I mean, that's been one of the greatest discoveries for me, more than anything else, is that the people that came to the blog early on, I mean, I still sometimes see them around. They watch my YouTube videos, they still come to the blog because they're interested in the things that I'm interested in, and they're usually researching them, hence they've searched for it and they've come to my blog. They've got information which they share. You build a beautiful thing around a blog that YouTube's a good analogy, but YouTube, you have to make videos. So if you're a writer or you're a creative practitioner who doesn't make videos, blogging is great. And actually, even if you're a YouTuber, blogging's great because my blog posts build on the videos. You can sort of see as a thing there, like with the notebooks. It's a place where you can build on other things you're already working on. And I would say the final point, the fifth one, is probably the most important one for me, is the blog will always be there through the ups and downs of your creative life. For me, when I think about when I started my first blog, I started it because I pitched an article to The Guardian. I was trying to become a freelance writer. I was like pitching things here and there. I was developing film scripts and TV ideas. And I pitched this article to The Guardian that was quite timely. And they replied and they said, "Oh, I'm really sorry. If you'd sent this 2 days ago, we would have run it, but now it's not newsworthy enough." And actually, I thought it still had a lot of value because it was looking at the deeper background to something that had been very prominent in the news. And I thought, well, that's still relevant. The history of this is still relevant. So it hasn't lost its timeliness. So that's when I started a blog. I put it there. And I think the only other time I pitched something after that, funnily enough, was an article for the blog I do now, The Lost Byway. And that was an article which someone had commissioned me to write, and they just never ran it. And they kept losing the photographs I sent them, which were printed photographs. It was quite expensive for me to do it when I didn't really have any money. And I got fed up and I just published it on a blog. I already had The Lost Byway, but I hadn't put a lot on there. And that was a year later, by the way. So it just reminded me of, actually, this is a thing I can control. I own it. It's mine, and I can put whatever I like on here. There are no gatekeepers. No one else is deciding what's newsworthy or relevant. I'll decide that. The audience will decide it, and it will be there as a record. And the blog gave me everything. If I was honest with you, the kind of creative career I've had, the blog has been the generator of so much of it. The first feature documentary I made, The London Perambulator, that really came out of writing on the blog. That's how I met the subject of the film, in a way. That's how we knew about each other's work and how we knew what we were interested in, that we'd get on together. People came to see the film at festivals because they were readers of my blog, so it helped get that film off to a good start. The jobs I got in production, a lot of that came because of things I was doing on my blog, because I was a really early adopter of new digital platforms at a time when a lot of production companies didn't really understand the internet. In the noughties, it was still, there was traditional media and there was the internet, and they didn't really meet. So being someone that was sort of known for, he kind of gets the internet and he understands video and blogs and videos and websites and audio and podcasts, that got me a way in and gave me a purpose in that environment. So I was able to kind of build a career out of that. And my first book, This Other London, published by HarperCollins, which was an amazing thing to be working with one of the biggest publishers in the world. I developed that writing on the blog over a period of about 6 or 7 years. So I wasn't going in cold. I had plenty of material. I'd been developing a writing style. I'd had a kind of warm up, if you like. So it made that book a lot easier. And then, you have ups and downs. But through those ups and downs, and certainly through the downs, you've got the blog there. You can turn to the blog. When no one seems particularly interested in what you're doing, you can still put out stuff on the blog and still reach the people who are interested in that. And they'll be there when the next thing drops, which it will. And like I say, the peaks and troughs of a creative career are inevitable. They're going to happen. No matter how high the peaks, the troughs are going to come afterwards. But I was going to say, is there a relationship between the two? I don't know about that. But it does. It ebbs and flows. And you have to kind of keep yourself going through that. And for me, I found enormous comfort in having the blog there as a thing I can just work on. I can keep going on. It's very simple and easy. It's low jeopardy. It could, like I say, it could be late night. I'm in the pub. I read something great in a book. I can put it straight on my blog and it's there. And then I can just keep moving on. I don't need to have a lot of energy or inspiration to do a big piece of work. I can just keep chipping away at it. And it's given me the creative career that I've had, I would say. Without the blog, I don't know if I'd have had this career that I've had, whatever that is. I don't like using the word career normally, but there is now a body of stuff that's been there for, 20 odd years, getting on for 25 years now. So I feel like the blog has been a massive part of that. And it also links back to the stuff I was doing before. So it's like a bridge out of the time when I was doing stuff in fringe theatres in London. And when I couldn't do that anymore, when I had a family or didn't want to do that anymore, it kind of gave me a home for it and allowed me to grow it into something else. So you could say it links back right into the 90s in that sense. So I just wanted to share those 5 reasons why a person should start a blog in 2026. Blogging isn't dead. Blogging is going to be here, and blogging will be here when the other platforms have gone. People will still be writing and publishing blogs, and people will still be reading them. I hope you found that useful, and I look forward to seeing you on the next page. And thank you so much to the people that have already joined as channel members. That's massively, massively appreciated. Thank you so much.